All right, all right. We are back at the Grit Won't Quit studio today. We have a very special guest with us, and we're doing it via Zoom. We have Aaron Harper from Rolling Suds. How are you today, Aaron?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Tom.
Absolutely. So you caught my attention through a mutual friend of ours, Lance, in the franchising space, and he told me that you were running an awesome franchise and that I should really, kind of take a look at what you guys were doing because you've done it very well, very fast. And we reached out, we connected, and I wanted to let the guests hear your story today.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks for having me on. And I'll try to be brief. So I've been in the franchise industry for years, scaling service businesses, adding locations and helping grow. I've now helped grow two of the biggest brands in the world in that specific industry. So both carpet cleaning, carpet cleaning brand, and then a drywall repair brand.
Oh, wow.
And, we added a ton of locations and opened a ton of locations for the drywall repair brand. The company I was working for offered me a really good paycheck to come and kind of take over a business that they were going to buy that they wanted to turn into a franchise. And I was like, I can do this on my own. I turned it down. And I went and looked for different businesses across the country that I could turn into a franchise. At a very specific acquisition kind of list of what I was looking for, a specific kind of deal structure that we're going to do, and I acquired. I looked at roofing and HVAC and plumbing and solar and tree care and insulation and a bunch of different industries. But I really liked the power washing industry, mostly because I really, at the beginning, liked the, when I was looking at talking to different founders and all that, the Wendling family are just incredible people. They're the founders of the original Rolling Suds. And so we grew, we acquired the brand in January of last year, partnering with
January
the founder.
of 23?
January of 23. We took the brand to market in February of 23. Signed up our first franchisee in March, our second franchisee in May of 23. And we have now scaled to 227 locations, owned by 64 franchise owners.
64 franchise owners, 227 locations. Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Thanks.
Now,
I could not do it without my team. They make me look really
good.
Sure.
What makes somebody want to buy a power washing franchise?
Well, I think in general, just a franchise provides a ton of resources that you wouldn't have as an independent business owner. So you have training, technology, supplier relationships, marketing, call center. All of this stuff that would take you quite some time and a lot of capital to build on your own as a business owner. So I think just in general, that's why people would invest in a franchise versus trying to do it all on their own. And then as it relates to Rolling Suds specifically, there's a variety of reasons, but there's really no one doing what we're doing currently.
No one's doing what you're doing. That's great.
So, typically when you go into a franchise, you have a bunch of other franchises that maybe you already are competing against an 800-pound gorilla that's been around for a long time, has a lot of locations already, and you're capturing market share, or you're stealing market share. Really, our competitors are local mom-and-pop operators, and we have become, in the last 2 years, the biggest power washing brand in the world by a pretty considerable margin, as it relates for a franchise. And I think just like a franchisee getting in on a hot brand, our brand is essentially first to market in an industry. We're the first national brand. And so a franchisee can be one of the first franchisees in a brand that's the first brand that really is captured. So there's a lot of upside and benefit potential.
And now, you're selling territories, or how does it work for your franchisees?
Yeah. They buy a geographical area in which they can do business. We do a minimum of 2 territories just simply because we're not looking for kind of the single unit operator. Our franchisees are required to have 2 employees hired prior to going to training. And then we have lead generation companies that generate leads for our franchisees, and we turn those on about a month back from training. Our expectation is that our franchisees are out like doing business development and booking estimates and jobs for 40 hours a week for 4 weeks prior to launch, so that they can kind of leave training with jobs and estimates and everything on the calendar, which has been the experience of the majority of our franchisees. So there's just a ton of systems and processes that are built in for a franchisee to succeed. And yes, they have a geographical area in which they can do business, and no one else can do business in that area.
That's great. And now, looking at the numbers, if you have 64 guys and 227 systems, it seems like more guys are getting 3 and 4 locations.
That's our average deal, I think, is like 3.6 or something like that. So
that's great.
We're only bringing in people who have more capital, higher risk tolerance, want to build a large business, aren't looking for a 1 to 2 truck operation. Like, they're really looking to build something sizable. And so that's our buyer, that's our franchisee.
That's great that you've identified that persona so that you know who it is that you want as your franchisees and guys that want to grow.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys that aren't just buying a job.
Correct.
That's great. And then again, as they have 3 and 4 systems, they're going to need to put a GM in place. And it's like they have their own little system within your bigger system.
Exactly. So they'll be required to have a general manager in training hired prior to going to training. That person runs the truck and then has a junior technician underneath him. And so those 2 people are employed before they've even gone to training. They actually come with the franchisee to training so that the franchisee can teach their employees how to do the washing.
Sure. And you guys are out of Tennessee, right?
Yeah, that's where our corporate owned and corporate location is.
Office. And how many corporate locations are there?
So we have ours in Nashville, and then we have one in Philadelphia, which is where the original founding location is. That's an affiliate. That's what we modeled it after. The founders of that business are business partners of mine in the franchise entity.
Very cool. So now, going to the systems and some of the tech that you're using to kind of give the audience an understanding of what's some of the things you're doing that you said, like a mom and pops can't do. You said call center, supply chain, tech, training, etc. If you could expand a little on that so that the person who's thinking about a franchise might, dip into why there's such a benefit for a place like yours.
Yeah, sure. So, with a franchise, you're either going to, I think in business in general, like there's 2 forms of leverage, really. There's more than 2, but there's 2 predominant ones, which is capital and time. And so with a franchise, you pay an upfront fee and an ongoing royalty, but your call center's figured out. You have insurance suppliers you can partner with. You've got your approved marketing suppliers. You've got SOPs. We build the trucks for you and deliver them. We source the trucks. We provide financing tools for the trucks. We have an SBA loan SBA loan process in place it's just very systemized, and that happens quickly. So all of this stuff is time that a franchisee that or someone that wasn't a franchisee would have to spend figuring out on their own anyways.
That's great. Yeah.
And
that really is a big difference.
Yeah. And they can't afford a call center right out the gate. No. They're going to be the ones answering the phones. They wouldn't necessarily be able to get the financing that our franchisees can get because there's more credibility to the SBA for a franchise than, hey, I want to go start my own power washing business and I need a $200,000 loan or $100,000 loan.
Sure.
We've taken 34 years of power washing knowledge and boxed it up and created a training program that does a sufficient knowledge transfer to the franchisee and their technicians, so that they can step in right away. And I mean, the one of the biggest benefits is the marketing that we're able to help our franchisees with, which we do. The vendors that we're partnered with do outbound marketing to commercial customers. The majority of our business is commercial, so there's a recurring nature to it. There's shopping centers and fast food restaurants and gas stations and businesses that need power washing frequently. Excuse me. So we have companies that do outreach to those prospective customers and bring the franchisees warm leads for them to go close. Now, I say that because it is a benefit, but we do not grow businesses for our franchisees. Like, they still have to go out and grow their own businesses and develop relationships. And while there are leads that will be provided by the vendors that we deal with, we want that to be supplemental to their own efforts in growing their business. Which means getting out in the community and talking to people and shaking hands and being on the golf course with property managers and all of that kind of stuff. The other benefit is we have the technology. So on your way text messages, estimating, the whole customer flow is kind of automated. We have a another tool that does outreach for employees. So it's an external company that will renew job ads regularly and bring business, bring potential employees in for the franchisees and keep them kind of updated and changing those job postings regularly to keep them fresh. So there's just a lot of tools that we've built that we are able to provide to franchisees that would take them a lot of time to figure out on their own, and they may never get to a point where if they didn't buy a franchise, they may never get to the point where they would have an opportunity to figure some of that stuff out. So what you see in a good franchise brand is you see franchisees get to scale faster, which means that they can get an ROI faster. There's less risk associated with it. And in addition to all that, they have a community of other franchisees, the other 64 business owners that we have, who are all doing the same exact thing as them at the same exact time in different markets. And so that mind share of kind of the franchisee network is invaluable. So there's just a ton of benefits.
It definitely seems like that they share the same issues, and they can work together to, where in most, especially power wash guys, I can't imagine that they are talking to other people, regularly to be able to have these kind of discussions. The guys that they know locally are competitors of theirs, and they can't, kind of have those kind of discussions. Now, I know, through social media, there's more forums and web boards and stuff like that, more so than in the past, but I would say that you probably have a closer knit community than just, randomly posting on some of these boards.
Yeah, I mean, a very tight-knit community, yeah. And it's, people pay lots of money to be part of these online communities and, masterminds and annual memberships and such like that. And with a franchise, you have that all just built in. It's built in, yeah. Just built in.
That's really great. Now, like when you go back almost 2 years ago, so you acquire this power washing company. Did you think that you were going to get to 227 locations in under 24 months?
No, I didn't. I knew we were going to grow, but I had never incubated a brand from scratch before, because this wasn't a franchise before. It's just one local business, right? Every franchise that I've been involved in up until this point has had at least close to 100 units at the time of me getting involved, which is the momentum's already been created. So I didn't know how long it was going to take to create momentum. I raised capital, so we had plenty of runway and all of that, and we're able to build the team before we needed the team. But I did not expect we'd be here. So I've now got a team of 22 people that support our franchisees, which is a really big team. We've got a full executive team in place, and it's amazing. I mean, just the team that we have supporting franchisees is, in my mind, second to none in the franchise industry.
That's fantastic. And it gives you opportunities to get on podcasts like this to keep showing off the brand.
Exactly. Yep. And allows me to do, the things that drive revenue and talking to folks like you. So.
Yep. Very cool. So now you raised just so that the audience could, you raised money on the franchise side, the franchisor side, ahead of this, so that you were in position to start making investments that you needed to on key personnel.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's great.
Franchising in general is an expensive endeavor because franchisees need the most amount of support when they produce the least amount of royalties. And so if you scale quickly, you need to have a really big support staff to make sure that the franchisees who sign up get that level of support. And it was very important for me not to be to have the capital so that we didn't have to be reactive. And we could hire people and be proactive in doing that.
Definitely is going to be the better way there.
Yeah, and I would tend to agree. And the people who I raised capital from, they are really well known in the franchise industry and have been mentors of mine for years. So it was really important for me to raise smart money. So, people who could provide kind of intellectual capital and support and guidance and mentorship in addition to just capital. Because there's a lot of dumb money out there, especially in the venture space. And that's essentially what we did. I mean, we raised more or less a pre-money raise. But it's been great. The partnership and my board of advisors has been immensely valuable. They call me regularly asking if they can give me some more money. So I tell them I'm okay for now. But I'm honored that we've got that in there so that we could continue to provide support and guidance to franchisees.
Awesome. Where do you want to see this go from 227? What's the next milestone?
Yeah, so a year from now, we'll probably be around 450 locations across the country. My expectation for the brand is that the entire country will sell out, and then we can go overseas and potentially to Canada next year as well. So, probably Canada next year. We're going to go after some national accounts pretty aggressively because we'll have enough presence nationally to start really making a dent on some national account conversations, and just keep growing and maybe add some other brands in the future that can be complementary. As I continue to make myself less and less relevant at Rolling Suds and empower my team to really kind of continue to run it. So so that's kind of where I see us going.
Awesome. And some of the early, when you took over, I mean, everything didn't go according to plan on day one. So what was some of the hustle, some of the things that kind of smacked you in the face a little bit? You buy this company, you have a plan to franchise, you've already done it with other brands that weren't your own. You go in and along the way something happened. Like, give us kind of one of those ones that just didn't go according to plan.
Yeah, I mean, I think you always want the best for the people that you bring on, but sometimes who you hire at one stage isn't going to be the right person for the next stage. And because when a company has hockey stick level growth, that means the team members that are hired also have to have hockey stick level growth professionally, and not everyone can. And we had to make some personnel changes at different stages of our growth that were brutal. You just try to treat those situations with as much grace as possible. But it's also, you got to do what's best for the business.
Sure. It's tough. Employees are tough because as any business grows, not even just in the franchise space or even in the hockey stick growth. Like I've seen it along the way. We've been in business 15 years, and we have there's some people at the beginning that were perfect at the beginning that as the company grew, we outgrew each other.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's hard because there's people that you had you liked and they saw you when you had 2 and 3 employees, and now aren't part of the journey, but everybody's life takes them in different places.
Yep, exactly. So
that's cool. Now, you did something very cool that I wanted to touch upon today. You did a training with Alex Ramosi.
I did, yeah. So I did a couple.
I've seen that on social. What made you do that? How like you've learned a lot. I've seen you posting some stuff about it. So kind of give the visitor who maybe isn't ready to make that kind of investment, talk about some of the benefits of that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Alex has been a big inspiration for me as he's built his companies. I was following him even when I was still an employee and had not made the decision to take the jump and the leap yet into entrepreneurship. It's I went to his headquarters for 2 days, and I brought my brand president and my content strategist. And it was a 2-day workshop where we kind of learned basically exactly how they grow companies. So what they do, how they increase enterprise value, the way they look at businesses, the frameworks in which they use. And it was awesome. Very impressive team, very impressive what they're doing over there. And I went back for a day where it was just me and 8 other founders, and then Alex in a room all day long talking about how we could all improve and increase the size of our businesses utilizing the suggestions and ideas that him and his team had. And they did pre-work on the business and came there very prepared, and it was a really good experience. So I would highly recommend anyone to do that who has a business that they want to take to the next level.
He's done some great things out there, huh?
He really has. Yeah.
And it's cool because he shares data. He shares a lot of information, which is great because some people hold on to it, and I know he always says he wishes other guys before him shared some of the ways to get to that to that pinnacle. So it's awesome, and he's a young guy too. I mean, it's great to see that somebody is
he's about my age,
has made it. So very cool that he's done that. And that's great that you got to go out there and see it, and I'm sure your brand president liked it too.
Yeah, he was thrilled. It was a great experience for all of us.
That's awesome. So I think you're doing awesome stuff. I love what you got going on. I follow you on social media, and I like that you're doing more content than ever now.
Thank you. Yeah, it's become a big part of our business.
Have you seen a benefit from doing all that content?
An immense benefit. Yeah. I don't think a lot of business owners understand yet maybe the importance of content creation. I will say it's a big lift to constantly write stuff and create stuff that is interesting enough that people want to follow along and keep watching. And I'm by no means got it down, and I don't think I ever will, because it's a constantly evolving landscape. But we have found team members through the content that I've put out. We have gotten supplier relationships and deals for franchisees because of the content that I've put out. We have recruited a considerable number of franchisees through the content that I've put out. I did we recorded a video with Cody Sanchez in Austin, Texas. That happened because of my presence online. That resulted in us finding more franchisees. It's a compounding asset. Also, the more we invest in content, the more prospective candidates we have without having to it just decreases our cost to acquire a franchisee, which is one of our biggest expenses. And so I spend a good amount of my time on it. We've got it down to the point where it's really systemized. I can go down in my content studio in the basement, where I record podcasts as well, and press a button, record. It goes, and then I press that button again, and it goes to my content team internally.
Yeah, sure.
And then they edit it and cut it up. But yeah, it's an immense benefit. I think probably part of the reason why people struggle with it is because it's not a tomorrow result. It's like you don't do it and then tomorrow, like you have to like be intentional about it for like quite some time. And
it's hard too.
It's hard. You have to make time for it. And
you have to make time for it.
Good.
You have to be ready to go. I've recorded more content. Me and Andrew, get together 2 times a week on content, and it's hard. And I'll say to Andrew, you want to skip today? And it's like going to the gym. You have to do it.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to do it, you got to dedicate the time to do it. And because otherwise, it's very easy to say, we'll just do it tomorrow. And we actually, Andrew and I go to our second location so that we're outside of the noise of our main building so we can get it done.
Yeah,
it's
part of the reason why I built another room down there is just to go down there, and it's like when I'm down there, I'm creating.
Sure. That's great. How many hours a week are you spending creating content?
Probably about 2 hours a day, I'd say.
Yep, that's fair. It's great.
Yeah,
it's cool though, and you could see it now. I definitely see a lot more content that you're producing, on the social medias, which is great. And I think there's a benefit. And again, it's not an instant. You're planting seeds, and as long as people understand that. Somebody called me the other day and they said to me, I see online a lot of blah, blah, blah. I said, make sure before you commit to it that you're going to commit to it, because otherwise you're just wasting your time. And if you're not going to, you got to keep going. And when it doesn't make sense, keep going.
You got to keep going, even if it's not producing results. If just a few people see and decide I want to kind of follow along this journey, that means there's just an after effect. They're going to tell people they know about, or they'll say, "Hey, are you following Aaron?" or whatever. And that I tell people who are thinking about starting a business, or I tell my franchisees, like, if you could stand up every single day in front of 10 people who might want to buy the thing you are selling, would you do it? Like, yeah, every day I'd be able to present to 10 people. I'm like, cool. What if it was 100 people? Yeah, of course. Okay, what if it was literally thousands of people? Well, yeah, I would stand up all day long and talk to them. It's like, okay, that's content. Like, that's what content is.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. I love it. I think that's a great way to close out our segment. This was a great conversation. Let people know where they can find you, both your website as well as some of this content that you're producing.
Sure. So if you're interested in applying to become a Rolling Suds franchisee, you can go to rollingsudsfranchise.com and apply there. If you just want to kind of follow along our journey, I write content. I create content about what we're doing, how we're building this company, the lessons I'm learning, the frameworks I'm thinking about things through. And I post most on Twitter, and my handle's Aaron Harper, CEO, and then also LinkedIn. So if you just type Aaron Harper Rolling Suds online, I'll be the one that would come up.
Awesome. Well, this was great. I'm glad that we got connected. I'm glad that we got to do this podcast, and I wish you nothing but continued success on this journey.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate you having me on.
You bet. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.